All right, now for more on the continuing crisis at Japan's Fukushima reactor complex, we're now joined by Christopher Simons of the International Christian University in Tokyo. So as Japanese officials now say that radiation risks are dissipating, they're also expanding the 20-kilometre exclusion zone to 30 kilometres. Do you think there's a possible contradiction being seen here?
Yes, it's fair to say the reaction from the government and from TEPCO has been confused at times. On the anniversary of Chernobyl, we could say that if Chernobyl was the world's worst nuclear disaster, then the current one in Fukushima is certainly the most complex. And today, Chief Cabinet Secretary Adano did expand the zone to 50 kilometers. That's not a required evacuation. The people between 20 and 50 kilometers have about 1 month to get out of town. And I don't know what their reaction will be, but there certainly has been some confusion in terms of the response.
So you say that the exclusion zone has now been expanded to 50 kilometres, and moments ago you brought in the issue of Chernobyl, world-famous disaster almost exactly 25 years ago. Now, naturally, any parallels between Fukushima and Chernobyl end with the fact that the latter emitted much higher radiation, but that was over in seconds. In Japan, we're seeing a perpetual, extended, ongoing leak. Would it seem accurate that these dangerous levels could increase, do you think?
Yes, well, I don't know if they'll increase, but there's certainly a risk of long-term exposure. That's a problem. In particular, the way in which we measure radiation causes people to misunderstand. As you say, the Chernobyl blast released a huge amount of radiation in a very short period of time. The International Commission on Radiological Protection uses average values when they calculate the types of radiation that people are exposed to. And those average values can actually, in some situations, such as after Chernobyl and currently in Fukushima, make it appear as though people are receiving lower doses of radiation than they actually are. You have to take into account the density of radiation exposure as well as the dose. So it is possible that there could be significant problems.
Now, as we're seeing in Tokyo, we're witnessing renewed protests there, many calling for natural energy sources to be introduced as soon as possible. Do you think, is there any chance their voices could be heard?
Well, I certainly hope so. Yes, the green movement here and the anti-nuclear movement here are very strong. And Japan is a prime candidate for green power, such as wind power in particular. It's got a good coastline, high winds. But Japan is a very conservative, very gradualist country. So whether this change will come quickly remains to be seen.
Well, as you were saying, Japan is known globally as an innovative country, and you were mentioning wind power there as a possible option. What other options could there be other than nuclear energy, do you think?
Well, wind and tidal power are the best options, and the people are clamoring for it. There's sort of an eco-frenzy in Japan at the moment. Everything is about green technology. The car industries, of course, Japan is a leading manufacturer of hybrids. The problem is these ties between the government and big business, such as agriculture and the energy companies. This makes Japan extremely slow to change, and the nuclear industry is probably not going anywhere.
So when you talk about the close relationship between big business and the government and the nuclear industry in Japan, would it seem that there's a case of negligence here? 25 years after Chernobyl, the companies are aware of the potential dangers of nuclear power. Did they just turn a blind eye?
Well, if they didn't turn a blind eye, there certainly are cases to be made for negligence. TEPCO already has a record of serious problems and accidents. In 2002, they were accused of falsifying data from their reactors, and that was proven to be correct. They were falsifying data. The government shut down some of their reactors, but soon after they were reopened again. So again, the pressure that business places on government may lead to lax safety standards, and there's a lack of oversight here.
Christopher Simons of the International Christian University in Tokyo. Thank you.
Thanks, Rory.